So hello everybody, I already expected the MIDI 2.0 service for Windows 11 in the last update, so in the 25H2 release, but it turned out they were not part of that, even if the services which you could download separately made it look like they did. So big disappointment there. But finally, 2 weeks ago, Pete Brown announced on the Steinberg forum that a KB update is coming on Friday, and this brings finally the expected MIDI 2.0 support for Windows 11. I was really nervous about that, so the first thing I did on this Friday, as this KB showed up, I had to install it straight away. So this is a preview update, which means not everybody might get it. You need to be a so-called searcher, so you might need to have enabled the option to always get the latest releases to make this KB update show up. But after that, I didn't notice anything, and pretty soon afterwards, Pete clarified that this is using the newish controlled feature rollout CFR process, which basically means even he does not really know how this works. It seems like you have the feature installed, but it's not activated. In which way and when Microsoft activates that feature is not fully clear, but it's said to happen to everybody around in February. So you should have a bit of patience. But you can test if it's already activated on your PC with a tool, which they also provide. So if you go here to the Microsoft and MIDI project on GitHub, so under releases, you find this MIDI feature enablement checker, and I did download that. So here it is, and you can unzip it, and it's a normal console application. So you need to open a console and you need to run the MIDI checker exe like this, and you will get this error that the driver is not present in the registry, and most likely it's not yet enabled. Okay, you can expect my disappointment about that fact. But it turns out, there is the internet, and it also turns out it's not fully true what was written in this post, that it's impossible to activate it yourself. You actually can. There is a tool for that. Everything I show here now is danger zone. Don't try that at home. Only if you have a spare PC, which you don't need at all, you might try that, and don't do what I do. So nevertheless, there is a tool called Vive Tool, which you also find on GitHub. Links will also be down in the comments afterwards. You can download this tool, both also again for ARM as well as for Intel, so you can get both versions. And this tool is also here. And what that does, let's unzip it first. Yeah, and with this tool, you can show all of the features which are currently on your PC and check if they are enabled or not. But there is a trick with that. You need to know the number, and that's a big secret, which number does what. But again, the internet, someone found out which feature is the new one, which contains also the MIDI 2.0 services. This tool also gives you the option to enable and also disable such features. And yeah, you need to know the number, and it seems I have the number here. Someone posted that as well. So it's that number 589888972. And with that feature enabled, you can enable it. And if you want to disable it again, you can do that as well. Again, danger zone, don't try this at home. But we will do that here. But it says you need to have admin access for that, so administrator privileges. Let's run again command shell here with administrator privileges, and we first need to enter the directory. And now we can finally run this command. And it says it's successfully activated. And what you need to do is absolutely do a reboot. Before that, it will also not be active. So let's do a reboot. So, and we are back after the reboot. And if we now run the MIDI check service, we get now the positive result that it's found in the registry, the new driver, and as well that the MIDI service, the new one, is running as well. And in case if you're wondering what it checks in the registry, you need to dive in quite deep. So in the HKey local machine software, Microsoft Windows NT current version drivers 32. There are some MIDI settings here, and you need to have a MIDI without a number and the MIDI 1. And the MIDI without a number needs to point to the old driver, and the MIDI 1 needs to point to the new driver. Yeah, this, as I said again, this is total danger zone. Don't tinker with that stuff or you can totally kill your system. But if you are a tinkerer, this might be a tip to look at these values, because I had issues, especially on this PC, while it worked totally fine at the first start on my ARM laptop. But we're still missing the tools, which I already also showed in my last video, with which we can view all the available ports and also create virtual MIDI ports. And these can also be found on the same GitHub page. And if you scroll down a bit, you find this release candidate 1, which is also danger zone. It says not to install it because a new update will be available also in the next weeks, which is also then code signed, because with that you get a strange code signing warning, danger, but this is actually no danger, this is fine. And then we have the final tool running here, and it shows here all my devices, which are all sadly MIDI 1.0, so I cannot really test the 2.0. Also the Native Instruments Control S61, which claims to be MIDI 2, is not really MIDI 2. It only, in air quotes, uses the UMP data format. So the underlying protocol is implemented, but on that protocol, it's still running MIDI 1.0. So you can, for example, open here the MIDI monitor. That's really nice that you can monitor all of the ports directly now in the OS without using any third-party tools. And if I press here a key, you see it's running MIDI 1.0, and also pitch bending and all the control wheels, they send MIDI 1.0 values, which is a shame. And I don't have any of the real MIDI 2.0 devices like the Yamaha Montage or these Roland A88 something, Mark II, I think is the name. But what we can test is to use the virtual loopback devices. So this is the default one, and it always goes from A to B or from B to A. So don't use the same ports or you might create a loop. And you can also create your own ones. I already showed that also in the last video with a loop back endpoints, and I also successfully created a second one, which is simply called second loop back, so you can create as much as you like. And what we can also test, if it also claims that you can now open a MIDI port multiple times, and that's also what I did, and let's have a look at that. On one hand, I've running here Bitwig, and it uses the hardware instruments to send MIDI data to this default port. You see my gazillion of ports, and here you see the default app loopback A and B, and we send this to A, and it will show up on the other side as B. So this is important to note. And I also have opened the control keyboard here, so the control S61 is also opened, and if I press here a button, you see it's receiving MIDI, and we can already monitor that if we go back here. So we can also monitor here the port B, AB monitor, and you will see when I press again the key, it's also showing up here in the monitor, as well as when I start playback here of a clip. It will also, where's the window? It will also lock nicely these messages. But let's have a look at Reaper. So we're having playback here. It's running and receiving, and I have here Reaper, and with Reaper again I opened both ports, so MIDI inputs I have opened big chaos here again, the default app loopback the B, so also the receiving port, as well as I did open the complete control. Oh, where is it? It's too much stuff here. It's somewhere here. Here it is. So that's with a new name. It's now S61 Mark III, and it's also open, and it's receiving already on this port B, but we could also switch the input to the control Mark III, and if I press now a button, it's also receiving as well as it receives in Bitwig. So we have now the possibility to open MIDI, a MIDI port into applications without a problem, which is absolutely and finally great. Yeah, and we could also again switch back to the loopback, and we can also go here on record, and you will see that we nicely will receive here the MIDI that is sent out from that clip in Bitwig. Wow, so this looks really promising, and as I said, it's danger zone. Don't do it. Don't try this at home. But it will be there for everybody, I guess, in the next 2 or 3 weeks, and you can all have fun with that. And I also asked Pete about what is going on with the ASIO driver, the free now included in Windows ASIO driver, especially for ARM, because we have not much drivers on the ARM platform. And this will finally solve this issue, and this will appear when they are finished with MIDI. So expect this sometime after the code is nearly finished, and it's hopefully also not too far in the future. So yeah, big good news for Windows 11 users. And until next time, make some funky music.